I'm glad that you guys came. Nice to see you again.
Yeah.
I'll do elbows so you guys are eating popcorn. Awesome. And Olga, good to see you. In case you're eating popcorn, do you want any popcorn? Okay.
It's non-GMO ear pop.
Oh no,
See,
I don't like popcorn.
Okay.
All
I'll
right.
have yours for me.
Do you want this, or I'm standing next to you just so that it gets on the mic.
Oh yeah, but I don't need it now, so
Okay.
you can take it. Okay, so everyone, welcome to the doctor's report. So this is your most important appointment here at our office, and it's because today you're going to get the tools to actually transform your life going forward. So you're going to hear things that you've never heard before, and you're going to say, well, why haven't I heard this? And I'll be the first to tell you that it's okay if you don't hear it. This is why we do these talks, so we can give this information to you guys. Now, during the talk, you're going to think about different family members, coworkers, people that you go to church with, anyone that you think of that should come in and get checked, even if it's not here, but if it's across Canada, we know chiropractors everywhere. We'll make sure that they get an opportunity to get checked elsewhere, if not here. The reason we do this in a group format is because it saves everyone time. So we would love to sit with you guys individually for 40 minutes, 45 minutes, but unfortunately it's hard with everyone's schedules. After this group portion, we're actually going to go over your x-ray reports with you individually and give you your full recommendations. So none of your x-rays will be displayed during the talk. It's all confidential. People have already given us consent for the x-rays that we have up here. And then if you guys have questions, feel free to be interactive. Like, the more interactive you are, the funner it is. So participate and it'll go a lot faster. So we're going to be going over, the essential that we're going to go over today is the nerve supply, or the fundamental. So that's what we're going to be talking about going forward. So I'm going to hand this off to Dr. Phil now.
Thank you very much, Dr. Emmer.
No problem.
Appreciate that. So we get to take turns in our doctor's report. So we definitely have a mission, and that's to educate people. The book that I have, The World's Best Kept Health Secret Revealed, we're not keeping it a secret. Okay, Dr. Emmer and I take turns on passing this information out, and tonight's my turn. I'm lucky. I really enjoy it. It pumps me up after 24 years in practice now. I get excited every time I do this. My hairs will stay, like my hairs are standing on end, because this excites me to see families, like Dr. Emmer said, transform their lives. That's our greatest joy in practice, is to see people never get disease, right? And so what we're going to talk about tonight is what you can do to stay healthy. And number one, you've got to ask the question, what is health? So I'm going to ask you and let you just think about this. Let this brew as I'm going to ask you another question. And I'm going to come back to what is health. But how would you actually describe to your children, your little ones, what health is? If they ask you, Mommy, Daddy, what is health? What's the definition you're going to give them? Don't answer just yet. Think about that. And now, after I've said that, I want to ask you, how is our health in Canada, in Ontario right now? Are we getting more health in the last 20, 10, 15, 20 years, or are we getting more disease in the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years? What do you think?
More disease.
More disease. And pretty much every talk we do that we ask that question, everybody says more disease, right? So right now, what are your chances of having cancer in Canada? The government of Canada knows these stats, and they're disturbed by this. And they've known this for some time, but from 2013 to 2016, they come out with some data, and they say that if you look beside you, to the person to the left and to the right, 1 out of every 2 is getting cancer. You already know this. And so that we don't want to be you. And we have a plan. 1 out of every 3 people is dying of heart disease. 1 out of every 2 is getting heart disease. So pretty much almost everybody is getting some kind of a chronic disease, whether it be diabetes, heart disease, cancer, irritable bowel, lung disease, whatever you want to call it. And so we have an action plan. What is their action plan, your government of Canada? What do they want to do for you? They say they're going to prevent chronic disease, includes cancer and heart disease. What's their plan for you? What do you do when you go to a doctor? You get medication and you get surgeries. You get 2 things. Instead of medicate, we say we want to educate, okay? And so that's what we want to do. And so this is really gets me going, and because we're on camera and we have a little one here, I'm not going to say bad words, but usually I get steamed right about now, because when this came out, I had to cool down because I was reading feverishly through this document, like how many 100 pages, and they use the word prevention in here. And I am ticked because their prevention is you taking a better drug. That's their plan for you, is you're going to get a better drug. That's their plan. And I don't know about you, but do you know anybody that can get a drug that'll move them to health? So if I have low blood pressure or high blood pressure, it doesn't matter, and I take a drug, that could help the blood pressure. If I have no blood pressure problems and I want to prevent because my family has heart disease, can I just go on that drug and be good and prevent? If we had a nurse sitting right where you're sitting, Olga, and so the nurse said, hey, if you go on that drug and you have good blood pressure, it actually can mess you right up. That's what she said to me, right? So, okay, so let's go on. We have so much to talk about. What is health? So we ask you, what are 5 things that you can do to help your health, to get healthy? So we haven't given you any answers here. What are the 5 things you can do to stay healthy, gang?
Eat well.
Eat well, exercise,
Sleep well.
sleep, good, and?
Your mind.
Mindset is our number 1, because if you never knew what health really was, and we're going to talk about this, what health really is. So I'm going to go at it from financial perspective. So who here is making a plan for retirement financially? Anybody? Not yet? Somewhat? What happens if you don't make a plan?
Well, you're still
You're unprepared. What's likely to happen if you make no plan for finances for retirement?
to live a minimum.
Exactly. And so that's the same thing for health. But the problem is people didn't even know what the definition of health was or what they had to do to get there. So how can you make a plan for health? You know what financially you need to do, or at least people have a pretty good idea. But they thought health was you get sick and then you go to the doctor and then they give you a pill. So already you're behind the 8 ball, because by the time you made it to sickness, right, you never had a plan for all these 5 things, okay, that we talk about. You actually ended up here. You ended up in this past the symptom line, and then the doctor's going to give you a pill, which they're going to try and relieve your symptoms to try to get you on the other side, but it never walks you towards optimal health. So that's the problem. Fail to plan, plan to fail. And I agree totally with that. So what do you want for you and your family? So health and healing is, I'm sure, on your list. Would anybody say it's not on their list? Because, oh, and some popcorn. Good girl. Okay, so health and healing, how would you describe that then? If I ask you if you're healthy, would you say yes? And so if somebody actually spits out popcorn, or say you actually threw up, is that health or disease? So I'm going to piggyback off her choking up the popcorn. So is that good or bad? Like, would it be better if she just swallowed that piece of popcorn? What if she ate bad food? What if she didn't get sick, but she took Gravol?
Well, she just
Your body needs to do the same
Yeah.
thing.
So my mom had bad fish one day, but she didn't realize it. She just went by her symptoms and treated the symptom. So she covered up that, how she felt sick to her stomach, but she didn't think, why am I sick to my stomach? She took the Gravol, kept that stuff in. She got food poisoning. She almost died in us in her 30s, right? So that's the kind of thought process. We're going to take away myths tonight and give you the real truth about health. And that's really what happens is that by the time you've gone to the doctor, you've got a symptom, you're already behind the 8 ball. You're already too late, in my opinion, to stay healthy. We got to get healthy.
I have a question.
Fire.
So when we do, some of us go to the doctor
Yes.
when you're not sick, but you say you want to do like a checkup.
Great.
Where you are in there.
Yes. I love that. They should do more. They're doing less of that now.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what we need to do, is we need to check people. Because how do you prevent something? You have to test for it. We're all about testing. You know, they've taken away your vitamin D testing. Do you know vitamin D, how important that is? It could actually save about 80% of breast cancer cases alone. It can save about 60% of colorectal cases in North America. We'd save hundreds of thousands of lives just in 1 year with taking the proper amount of vitamin D, but they delisted it from OHIP, right? That's what gets me upset about our system, because who does that profit? So we know if we put you on a plan for health, We have 3 doctors. You're going to get this article, and it's titled Lifestyle Medicine Treating the Cause of Disease. So Dr. Ummer is studying the lifestyle medicine course through Harvard Med School now. I've completed it. And so what we know is that 90% of cancer, heart disease, diabetes, we can prevent all that. But you had to actually do a test, and you have to make a plan, and you have to follow that plan, right? So if you don't do the 5 fundamentals, we don't have a chance for you to reach that 90% chance of being healthy, of never getting disease and being healthy your whole life. Okay, so anything that you do, you let me know. I don't want to miss anything. So yes, we need emergency. Crisis care is good. Thank God we have medical doctors to save your life in a crisis. Okay, if I go out of here after the doctor's report and I leave happy families knowing that their health is going to be awesome, and I just feel great because I gave them a great plan that they know they're going to be healthy for the rest of their life, but I get hit by a bus on the way out, am I going to come in for my adjustment first? No, if my liver's hanging out of my body, I want them to put it back in. Okay, that's emergent. We need crisis care. We need that. But what they're doing is they're taking the crisis, like Dr. Chopra just talked about, as a doctor that used to be the top doctor in Health Canada, protecting us. He said emergency medicine's great, but they're using it for all conditions like heart disease, cancer, and all that, and the model doesn't work. That's why our disease rates are going up and up and up. That's what he says, right? So where do we come in this study? The top 37 countries in the world for health status, the World Health Organization, they found we came 30th out of 37th. The US came last. So I'm going to ask you, when people say, no, that's not me, Phil, I'm not taking drugs and surgery, so that's not me, right? What model are you living in? They say it's not me. So that what I say is that, well, if you never actually got tested and you're just waiting to get that symptom or whatever to go into the doctor, you're just waiting. Because how long does it take to get pancreatic cancer before you feel your first symptom? Or how long does it take to brew it? And most people think, well, pancreatic cancer is one of the fastest cancers that there is growing, right? In actual fact, it takes 15 to 20 years before your first symptom. But we're going to know by doing proper testing that you're building disease. We will know that. We have testing called an EIS scan, and you're going to get this information. This EIS scan actually lets you know the function. It doesn't go by how you feel at all. See, the devastation is that people are going by how they feel. Because when I ask them, people say, I know I'm healthy because what? What do they tell me? I feel good, I look good, and I have some energy maybe. Maybe those are the criterion. Would you guys agree? But I'm saying we have to test all 5 fundamentals to know the truth about your health, and that's what we do here. So we have to test all 5, and that's when we make a plan for all 5 fundamentals. And so that's the model. If you want to choose for you and your family to live that model, that's what you have to do, and that's what we have for you. At the end of tonight, you're going to get your plan. And so we know where all health and healing actually comes from. What controls every single cell in your body? Every tissue, every organ is controlled. When you wake up in the morning and your thyroid hormone starts getting stimulated and you start getting more activity and energy, hopefully that happens for you. If it doesn't, it will, if you keep with our plan. Okay, what controls that? When you run up the stairs and your blood pressure goes up. When you calm down and your blood pressure is able to go down, do you have to think, oh, I'm going up 40 steps, I got to increase my heart rate by 37 beats per minute? Do you have to think about that? Yeah. The guys are going, hell no. Because if I had to think about that, there's no chance it would ever happen, right? Okay, heck no, I should say. All right, so your brain is the one that's controlling everything. Did you know that your brain, if it's blocked in its message flow, that chiropractic will be able, it's been shown by research, a cardiologist asked the question, why am I having to take my patients off of blood pressure medications? A cardiologist who was a researcher asked that. Thank God he asked that question, because then he found out the people that are going to chiropractors, those were the ones he had to take off the medications because they were getting adjustments that allowed their brain to talk to their heart in 2 areas. All they did was measure the one area, and it was as good as taking 2 blood pressure medications for blood pressure. They took those blood pressure medications every day for 3 months, and they got adjusted 3 times, and the results were as good with the chiropractic group. Do you think that we have the treatment for blood pressure problems? What do you think? No, you have the treatment. It's inside you. Your body's meant to be healthy. This is the point. As long as you don't have interference in those 5 fundamentals, If your brain can see your heart, that's all we do as chiropractors. We remove any interference of your body's ability to actually be controlled from your brain. We aren't rocket science. The rocket science is in you. One cell came from a mom, one cell came from a dad, made a person. 70 trillion cells, that's the awesome power that you have within you. That's what we're unleashing. Every time you get an adjustment, you're getting closer to health. So let me ask you, Christopher Reeve, what happened to him?
got this spine
Yes.
problem and he got paralyzed.
That's a great summary. Christopher Reeve, as a summary, just in case they can't hear that, he got paralyzed because he had a spinal cord accident. And that's exactly what happened. He broke bones up in the top of his neck here, and that disrupted his flow of nerve messages to not only his arms and legs. He was paralyzed, as you say, but most people didn't know he couldn't breathe. He couldn't actually beat his heart. He had to have a machine, a ventilator to breathe. He had to have a machine to beat his heart. His bowels didn't move. You can't replace damaged cells with healthy cells properly. Every 1 minute, how many cells are you replacing? It's 1 million cells in 1 minute. That's the marvel that you have. That's the power that we get to work with every day. We're not the amazing part. You're the best doctors inside of you. And that's what Dr. Deepak Chopra, one of my other favorite Dr. Chopra brothers, he says that inside your body is the best pharmacy ever made. You name it, your body makes it the right dose for the right time for the right organ, no side effects, and that package is called the innate intelligence. Some people call it God, some people call it life force. We like to call it innate intelligence. Okay, so that one cell from a mom, one cell from a dad, that's the healing power you have harnessed in you. And so when Superman, if we could have given him the best nutrition plan in the world, would that have helped him? If we could have hooked him up to all sorts of exercise machines, if we could have given him positive mindset over and over, only positive things, if we could have detoxified his body, could anything have helped him? You're going to see a video of Melanie, and she's talking about the stomach problems and the digestive problems that she had. She came to one of our community lunches. So when they ask you, who do you know that needs to get in here for a checkup? My question is, if you had a blocked artery in your heart, when would you want to know? Yeah, as soon as possible. So if you have a blocked nerve to your heart, excuse me, when do you want to know? That's why you guys brought your kids in. Because you already knew this question, you'd want to know right away. Who wouldn't? Okay, so that's why we don't have to do other kinds of advertising, because people are telling other people the truth about health and healing. Some people are ready for it. Is everybody going to stop smoking because we said it was good for them to stop? Is everybody going to follow our 5 fundamentals? This isn't for everybody. This takes some effort and some work. Okay, so the people that don't want to put effort and work in, this isn't for them. This is not for every single person. So, but we would like it to be. If we had our choice, we would make it mandatory, right? So a subluxation is where the nerve doesn't send its signal through. And by the way, when you have a subluxation, it will actually decrease on average 60% of the nerve flow when you have a subluxation. How many times will you feel that? So out of, say, 100 people that I check, how many people actually feel that they have a subluxation? How many people would know? You would think you would know. So let me ask you this. When you go to your cardiologist or your doctor for your checkup, should they just ask you, say, Olga, do you have heart pain today? I won't need to do your blood pressure. I won't need to, no, you feel good, so I won't need to do your blood pressure. So the dentist could say, Olga, how are your teeth today? Like, do they feel, I won't need to examine your teeth then. Right, you see where I'm going with this? Is that how you feel is actually 10% of the truth. 90% of the time you have a problem, you have no idea. That's the crux of the matter here. 90% of the time. But, so the other percentage I want you to remember is that when you have a subluxation, who wants to be 40% alive? Raise your hand. Anybody? Do you want to be 40%? Anybody? Now, one of the kids actually raised their hand and they get, yeah, at least 40%. So that was a cool one. You reminded me of the kid that said that. All right. So now let's see what's going on with it. If I ask you now, if there is 97% of nerve flow to my lungs, are you going to be happy with that? Would you rather have 100? Okay, so wouldn't you rather have 100? So that's why we have to remove interference. I'm going to show you some examples of this, and you can take this down. ADHD for kids, how they're actually thinking and learning, and we'll show you an example of that today. We'll show you an example of heart problem. We'll show you an example of endometriosis and fibroids and how that works, how your hormones are made. All this stuff is happening because of your brain talking to your body, and it must go down. The signal must go down. All right.
Just cover how you get misalignments. How does that happen?
Yes. Oh, we have Ryan's testimonial. I'm going to ask if you can cue that up after. So you can get subluxations. Great question. When's the first time you get a subluxation? Birth. Being born. That's it. If you've witnessed birth, you know what we're talking about. So, you know, when the doctor was pulling out my firstborn, and we tried to get a midwife, but I'm old enough that it was a hard time back then, and so we couldn't. So the doc's pulling out our first baby, and I went and put my hands on the doc's hands because the force that was being pulled was unbelievable. And so I checked my baby right after he was born, and my wife didn't even hold him first because she knew she wanted him, if he had any interference on his nerve system, to get that removed immediately. Okay? And so when I educated the nurses, and what happened was this little boy, our firstborn, came to his skin color, everything changed, started breathing as soon as I adjusted him because he had subluxation in the top of his neck. We get invited to hospitals for birth. People on their way home, they haven't even been home and they come here, right? That's the power of how amazing your body is. You can get subluxations. How many times do you fall when you're a kid learning to walk? So like my son didn't remember that when he was 5, we were just talking about this because he was on the playground. I said, remember that time when you were 5 and you fell? No, I didn't remember that, Dad. So people come in here and we're asking them, how did you get that neck like that or your back like this? And they'll say, oh, I didn't have any injuries, right? So my son would have never remembered he fell from about 8 feet and did a face plant, right? And that wasn't good for his spine. Okay, so traumas, how many kids, we're seeing degenerative changes in teenagers now, degeneration where they're forming bone spurs because of what? And people say, I don't know how I got this problem. I'm like, well, you're in this posture how many hours of the day, right? Okay, so let's see here, Ryan's testimonial. So this is the power of your body and how it heals.
For the past 8 years, I've been struggling with mitral valve prolapse, atrial fibrillation, and pectus excavatum. Before meeting Dr. Phil, I had gone through 2 heart procedures, over 15 cardioversions, and a handful of medications unsuccessfully. My cardiologists have been doing great things for me, but we've come to the point where I had limited options and I didn't know that my spinal health or nutrition had everything to do with my heart. Since being recommended to Dr. Phil, I've avoided another heart procedure, I'm gaining my strength back, and I'm able to see a positive outlook on my life again. If I had not gone to one of Dr. Phil's seminars, I would have never known that my spinal health and nutrition had everything to do with my heart health. If it weren't for this seminar, I still would have been booking procedures, losing my quality of life, and not knowing what my future would hold. I have a new outlook on life now, and my hope has been restored. If you've been recommended to Welcome to Wellness, go to one of their seminars, read their nutrition book, and follow the 5 essentials. It'll change your life like it has changed mine. Dr. Phil is a revolutionary doctor. My life has changed immensely, and Dr. Phil and Welcome to Wellness team will help you too. Thank you.
Yeah, so he just finishes off and says, go to a seminar so you can learn about what's going on. Because we always talk, at every single seminar, we talk about one thing of the fundamentals of the 5 fundamentals, at least one thing. So tonight we touched on 5, but we're really only focused on number 2, which is your nerve supply. And number 1, what is health? So health is the optimal physical, mental, and social well-being, not merely the absence of disease. That's the medical definition. So it doesn't say, wait till you have a symptom. It says nothing about symptoms. Health has nothing to do with how you feel. In fact, when you have a fever, when you feel sick to your stomach, those are signs of us, our bodies expressing health because you're healthy enough to excrete the toxins out of your body. That's awesome. A fever is when you're actually fighting infection. That's a great thing. I thought it was a bad thing growing up as a kid, right? It's awesome to create a fever. Every 1 degree Celsius you go up in temperature, you create 10% more white blood cells to fight off. So they're like the white gobblers. They fight off the bad guys. So that's how I explain it to my kids. They're white gobblers like Miss Pac-Man. So look at this. Medically, what do they do for this? Two things medicine, you told me, Olga, two things medicine does. Can a drug help this?
No.
Will surgery help this? They're going to try. Listen, if you couldn't put a spine back together properly the way we do, and I'm just going to show you this proof here first. If you couldn't do this from a chiropractic perspective, thank you. That's 6 months later when she came here. But if you couldn't do this, why would surgeons want to change that spine? Why? What do they know? What happens if they leave that person that way?
Back pain?
Pain? No, not back pain. What's stopping? What's being interfered with now?
Her nerves.
Her nerves. What's being interfered with? What part of her life? Heart. Did you just saw Ryan talk about his heart health? Heart, lungs, every organ in your body that's being interfered with, because the worst thing, I told you a subluxation can take 60% of your nerve message and you're only left with 40. What happens when you have a curve? It literally takes your spinal cord and torques it. It compresses it. It chokes it so that you're not getting the message through from your brain. We can't even measure how much damage that's doing. We say it's a killer because we know 14 years is the average loss of life when you have a curve in your spine. Were you aware of that? The truth about health is that. 14 years, is that significant? That's devastating. That's why we say it's a killer. That's why we want to check every kid. Do we want this to happen to anybody? Not on our watch. That person didn't feel that curve growing. Okay, they didn't have pain for a long time. And so that's why a surgeon would take somebody's spine like this, break it and put 2 steel rods in, because not because of pain, but because they know that person's going to die early. That's the reason, and that's a good reason to do that. So I had a 21-degree curve. My plan was, if chiropractic didn't help it, I would rather have that than loss. Who would want to lose 40? Would you rather have a surgery or help 14 years add extra to your life? And it's not just the lifespan, the quality of life. So after I got adjusted and my curve improved for me personally, I didn't have asthma, I didn't have puffers anymore, because the nerves that went to my lungs were able to send the messages out better. I never had bronchitis, and that's why I get pumped up about this stuff, because my life's changed. Dr. Ummer's life's changed from chiropractic. That's why she's a chiropractor.
What's in there? The black thing.
Yes?
What's that?
Oh, that's just the straight line, basically. That's how we use. That's what we use to measure the curves, what degree it is. So, are we happy? Now, by the way, did this take some time? Was it just she comes in here and gets some adjustments, gang?
No.
She had to do some work. So what I'm going to tell you, it takes time and effort. You know, I said it's not easy, but it's simple. We give you a simple to follow plan. It's all laid out, it's simple, but it takes work. She had to do 40 minutes of exercises minimum per day. So if you have a curve like this too, you're going to have to do the same. And she was only 17, so when you see that much of a curve change after 6 months, that's impressive, right? But are we going to leave her there? No, we're not going to leave her there, because we know she's still developing disease. And this person right here is a different person in her mid-40s. She had fibroids in her uterus. Now I'm saying to you, what happens? So that little curve right there, is that shutting off nerve messages now? Is she able to send 100%? Is she able to make new cells 100% of the time now? You're making 1 million cells per minute. They're not working properly to those organs. Guess where those nerves go? Where do those nerves go? They go down to these organs of reproduction and to bowels and so on. Down your legs.
The last picture there,
yes.
The curve.
The young girl? Yes.
Yeah. Was that an actual condition though? Was that like spina bifida? Like was it
no.
something like that? It was just a curved
Just
spine?
a curved spine. Okay. That's a great question, because there are disease processes that are involved in curves too.
Right.
Excellent question.
Now,
so
somebody that does have a disease, like a disease
yes.
condition, is there stuff is there something that can be done?
Yes.
To work with that?
Absolutely, because your body's ability to heal itself depends solely on its ability of its brain to control its cells. Okay. And so that's why this kid with the heart disease, Ryan, I mean, he was supposed to have 3 heart operations this year.
Right. He's
not having any. He was in a study with 3 cardiologists. He's not having those surgeries because now his brain is talking to his body. That's it. That's how powerful it is. This is what I'm saying. You have a powerful healing machine. That's what Dr. Chopra said. You have the best pharmacy. You name it, you make the right drug for the right dose at the right time if these conditions happen. So remove interference, good things happen. And so this lady here, so we sent her off. She went off to a surgeon, and he said she had fibroids, so the plan was to take them out. But that was like months ahead. So guess what? She lost the discomfort that she had, but she misunderstood what I was saying. What did she do to that surgery? Yeah, she canceled the surgery. She said, Dr. Phil, you're going to be so happy with me. The surgeon said all this pain was from the fibroids in my uterus, but you must have fixed it because I don't have any of this pain anymore. Right? This is after like 4 weeks of adjustments. So I know her body's in a better way because she's got more nerve flow to her organs. But what do I say about the disease in there? Do I say, yes, that's great that you canceled your surgery? No. What do you think? No. I don't think it's good at all. What's the only way to find out if it's still there?
I can do more tests.
Exactly. You got to do the same test that found it in the first place. So by the time she went back, I said, you've got to reinstate that surgery. And guess what? You have to go back for your checkup and tell the doctor things have changed. You've been working on lifestyle changes. You changed your diet. We had her change her diet, her nutrition. But most importantly, this is what happened to her spine. Her nerve system's talking now. And that's the power that you have within you. Guess what the surgeon found when he did the exam before the surgery?
Yeah, shrink. The fibroid has shrink.
Yeah, he couldn't find any fibroids. They call this spontaneous remission. And that's what they said to the girl when she went back with her x-rays back to sick kids. Right? Spontaneous remission is what they said. But we know the truth. What's the truth? Your body heals. That's what spontaneous remission is. It's just you gave it the chance. And so anyway, there's a paper by Dr. Gordon Waddell, who's an orthopedic surgeon, and he says 90% of hysterectomies are done unnecessarily. He says the problem's in the spine. This is an orthopedic surgeon saying this. The same thing we're saying. So we got lots of medical studies showing the same thing that we're showing, and here's one of them. The American Journal of Pain Management in 1994 said, hey, this is a journal for doctors, medical doctors. Hey, doctors, you're looking at the spine for the wrong reasons. Don't just look at it for back pain, neck pain, and headaches. You got to look at it because posture controls everything. It controls everything. Hormone production, lung function, mood. Does this sound like it's important, gang? Your posture. So this is what, of course, your doctor does on every checkup. No, but that's what they're saying. If you want to be a doctor of prevention, of cause, this is what you do, is you look to the spine for the cause. That's what Hippocrates said. Look well to the spine for the cause of disease. He also said, let food be thy medicine. All right, so those are two of our fundamentals. And so here's an example of well, he's not a young man, by general standards, I think 67 is young personally, but okay, he's 66 here, and he's 67 here, but look at that. Can you see that space right there? Can you see how it's different over here? Why did this guy come in? Just as a guess. This is called severe osteoarthritis in medicine. We like to call this subluxation degeneration in chiropractic terms because we know the cause is subluxation, causes your body to degenerate because the nerves can't get signals through to the bones. They can't replace their damaged cells. Okay, so if you can't move, you can't get food, water, and oxygen squished around your joints, and your nerve can't tell your bones to grow properly. It tries to do what? What does it do when it's fusing together? What's the purpose of that from an innate intelligence standpoint? Why would you want the bones to fuse like a stalactite and a stalagmite together, fusing together? What's the reason?
Get some sort of stability.
Yeah, that's exactly it. If you can create stability, you can keep the space you have, what left you have for the nerve. Because this guy, when he came in, he had no motion in his fingers. He couldn't move his fingers. His arms had very little strength. Okay, so his wife had to feed him, put his clothes on, wipe him, all that, because his nerves... Now, did he have neck pain? This is a kicker.
No.
This guy had no neck pain. No neck pain. Look at that. You're saying, how on earth is that possible? Well, it wasn't hitting one of the 10. Even I was surprised, to be honest. But there's an extreme example. And so what we did was we started adjusting him. It took 4 months to get a flicker here. But I told him, you believe in that power that made you, stick with this. You got to have the mindset that your health is going to change. You have to have that mindset. He went to a surgeon and said, don't come back for 1 year until you try this, because if we go in there and cut and we hit the nerve, what happens to him? It's permanent. It's permanent, he said. And he gave him the truth straight up, which I admire for him. And so this guy got back by 9 months. He was up on his roof, on his eaves troughs, cleaning out his roof, right? That's the power of your body's ability to heal. That's cool. And now here's a young girl, 16 years old. Look at, this is a reversed neck curve. So this is the worst kind you can have. She's 16 and her neck curve went from here, okay, like a banana. So please make your hand go into a banana shape. So now I'm going to ask you if your banana now inside, so the outside, just picture the actual peel of the banana is your spinal bones. They're your spinal bones. Now inside the banana, the actual pulp is your spinal cord. Now your spinal cord has the same kind of consistency of a banana. Now let me ask you, do this please, and do that, and tell me how your pulp's feeling, your spinal cord right now. Is that going to interfere with your brain's ability to talk to every cell from there down now? So this is one of the worst conditions we see, is when your spinal curve is lost and it's reversed like this, and she's only 16. She had amazing results after 2 weeks.
What caused that? What have caused that? Oh.
You name it, she had injuries too, but her posture was atrocious, right? Common though, common with kids today, very common. We see this all the time now with kids. When I first started practicing, we never saw kids this bad. I never did, for sure. Okay, so what the problem with this girl is, she felt better after 2 weeks, and she said, Dr. Phil, I'm feeling so good, I'll see you. Because she was usual, you know, I go to a doctor, I leave when I what? Yeah, when I feel good, I'm gone. I'm good now, I'm fixed. That's when care starts. That's when correction can start, is when you feel good. We can't fix anything till you feel good, because your muscles are going to be tightening in protection. That's how it works. We didn't make these rules. It's not...
So was it pain that initially led her to you?
For her, yes.
Right.
Yeah, for her, yes. She actually had shoulder problems. She didn't really have as much in the neck. She had more in the shoulder, and so that was the problem. And the key thing with the last guy and her is that we're concerned, Dr. Ummer and I are saying, we're more concerned about those nerves to your heart. Forget about you can't move your fingers. What happens if you can't beat your heart anymore? Right? We're more concerned about where those nerves are going to what organs and how they're going to affect that. So beside that lady that had the pain in the back that was going to her ovaries and uterus, we're more concerned about her ovaries and uterus and her bowels than we were about her back pain. Right? I mean, there's people that have been coming for 15, 20 years plus, and they still have some of the same symptoms they had when they first came in. Why are they still here? Because their overall health is hugely improved. They may not have full 100% relief of a back pain or a neck pain, but they know they're functioning at a higher level because we have the tests that prove this, and they can see the results in their tests. And you will too if you stick around long enough. This is Dr. Ummer. I mean, look at how good she is. She's close to perfect there. I don't want to say that. Okay, this kid here, so this is a 5-year-old. He was put on he never actually took them, but his doctor prescribed ADHD medicine because his teacher said, this kid's disrupting the entire classroom. Got to do something about it. So what do is the doctors, Ritalin, whatever, and those type of drugs. The parents went home, researched it online. The dad had a gut feeling, I don't think our child should take this. And he found out it was a class 2 central nerve system narcotic. The same class of drug as crack cocaine. Right? So the dad's looking online, he says, chiropractic might be able to help our child. And he goes, look at this next slide here. This kid's been to 3 different doctors, including a pediatrician. They never checked what? His spine. This is what gets me outraged. Are you outraged too? I'm outraged by this. And this kid, this is 3 months later. This kid's a different kid. He won MVP in soccer next year. He was very uncoordinated. Ask yourself, how coordinated are you when your brain's over here and your rest of your body's there? How did nobody see that? It's obvious. His life's changed forever. He's not on those medications. He's functioning properly. He's getting good grades, MVP in soccer. These are the things that happen to kids, the full life expression. Why does almost every single pro athlete get checked on a regular basis, whether they feel good or not? Almost everyone does, because they're going to perform at the highest level possible when they're actually having brain signals work, right? And you watch when the Brazil Olympics come, you'll see how many if you're looking on the sidelines, they're all getting checked before the events. You watch, you'll see.
I think they get checked for the wrong reason because they just check that.
Oh, I totally agree with
They
you.
don't get accident or
Yeah.
blockage. They don't check for the nerve system. They check for injury.
And they check for peak performance from sports. Yeah, totally agreed. So to your point, I was a chiropractor at the PGA Tour for 2 years in a row at Glen Abbey. And so I checked those guys, and 90% of them got checked every day. Okay? Now, what happened is that I would say, this problem right here that you have right here, because when they make their turn, this gets torqued. This problem you have right there, those are the nerves going to your prostate, your bowels, down your legs. They go, but I'm not hitting it as far. You need to fix, I need to hit it further. And I'm like, no. This is the nerve that's going to your bowels and your prostate, man. And so, to your point, they're doing it for the wrong reason. But you know the truth, you're going to do it for the right reason. Okay, so this person, this is where it gets heavy, guys. It gets heavy, and this is the truth, is that this person had lung cancer here. Now, I'm going to ask you, if you have lung cancer, so you've heard that cancer can be caused by several things. We have this great book called Cancer Killers. We have so many people coming to us for helping them never get cancer again, or prevent it in the first place would be better. Okay, but so this guy came after the fact, after he had the chemo and the surgery and the radiation. Okay, but he wanted to make a plan to never get it again. So I'm going to tell you, you're going to know more than his oncologist and his surgeon about why he got the cancer in the first place. So if it was genetics, let me ask you, 2 lungs, 2 of different organs, whether they be chest organs or genital organs or whatever. If you have 2 kidneys, do you ever see cancer on both sides at the same time? If it was genetics, so does anybody know of anybody that had it on both sides at the same time? I don't know of one person. If it was genetics, should it be? If that was the cause. Would it? It makes sense, right? If it was what you ate, did the food go to both sides, do you think? Yeah. What about how you thought, your bad mindset? Did that go to both sides? Okay, what about if you exercised? Anything you can think of except one thing. What's happening to this young man here? What's happening to his spinal cord? Can his brain deliver the signals to both lungs equally now? Does this seem simple? Like, honestly, is it rocket science? If you are blocking nerve messages to it, so you're going to tell me this is the left and this is the right, left and right, which side is getting more signal? Which side developed the cancer?
Right?
Exactly. It's not rocket science. This is easy stuff, and this is how basic it is. You need food, water, oxygen, decreased toxins, and a brain that sends messages through. It's probably crystal clear. So this guy is on his plan to develop no more cancers. We're going to go to the next one. So what we're going to show you is that when we go back and look at your x-rays coming up very shortly, is that you need to know these things. You need to know what a normal curve looks like so that you can, we want to empower you so you can fix this too. If you don't do your exercises, you're going to lose 30-40% of your ability to heal. You need to do those exercises. Getting adjusted alone will do it, but it'll take a lot longer, right? So now, when we have this banana-shaped curve and then we slowly lose it, that's phase 1. We're looking at your neck right now. In phase 2, you're forming bone spurs to do exactly what you said. Fuse, did you say that? Fuse your bones together. I can't remember which one of you said that. Stability, yeah. So to stabilize your spine and then keep the space for the nerve system open. That's the purpose. So when your body is starting to go the other way, what do you think happens to your bone spurs? We actually reverse arthritis. We actually reverse it. You saw it on those x-rays. You saw the guy that was 66, that was this space, and then the next year you saw him at this space. That was the reason he got his hands back, because we opened the space. His nerves could send signals. Okay, so that's what happens. Your body repairs and heals. So when a person gets into phase 3 and they're fused, how much do we help that person? And unfortunately, every week somebody comes in like that we have to tell them what? Nothing, really, nothing. I mean, we might make them feel, I just talked to a lady today, I felt so, you feel like so bad that you're not helping these people. They came too late. Okay. Lower back, same thing. When you look at the lower back, you're going to say, what's my neck and what's my lower back? The lower back, of course, has the tailbone. There should be a head on the top if it's your neck. Some humor in here. All right, so, but the seriousness of this is that we want you, is it going to take longer for phase 2?
Yeah.
It takes longer. I didn't make these rules. It's like braces on the teeth. The guy that got his fingers back and was up on his eaves troughs, it's taking us 4 and 5 years, but this guy was very close to this phase to get maximum results for this guy. Somebody in phase normal, it's going to take us a few months to provide perfect correction. Somebody in phase 1, it might take a year. Somebody in phase 2, it could take 2 to 3. All right, depending on what your other 4 fundamentals look like and how you've lived your life and how you're going to change. All these get factored into your plan. This is the spinal cord, and when we take a look at the spinal cord on the inside, this is showing you what's happening. Now we're looking at the curve this way, so the banana curve is of course like this. And so when you have your spine in this shape, the 45-degree arc, we call it the arc of life, it allows your spinal cord to be at its nice, softest, most unobstructed place. So it can send messages through. Okay, so let's go to phase 1. And this is, can you see how the spinal cord has been elongated by 3 to 5 inches? Okay, this is what happens. So you're torquing your spinal cord, not allowing your signals to get through. All right, so now phase 2. So this is where you get into phase 2, 3. This is the spinal cord. This is what my grandfather looked like. This is why he was in a wheelchair, because he didn't listen, that he thought he was okay taking those pills that his doctor prescribed, that he was in phase 2 when we saw him. And we said, Grandpa, you're going to go to phase 3 if you don't watch out. That's why he had to have a diaper, because his bowels didn't work, and the bladder bag, because his, the other part didn't work. Because his nerves, how much nerve signal is getting through, gang, to those organs now? Why was couldn't he walk? He had huge legs, twice the size of mine. They weren't working anymore because his brain couldn't talk to them. All right, so that's why the power of this allows babies to be, we have about 7 out of 8 success rate for women that try to get pregnant through in vitro and everything. Then they come here and we allow their brain to send signals to their organs. Same thing for the men, have to get checked because it could be the male, right? And so that's how we create babies. In her case, she had her baby wasn't turning, and 3 adjustments late. So they were going to go in and they were going to try and manipulate the baby, which is risky business. I don't know if you've seen that before, but they were going to try and turn the baby to get head down. 3 adjustments later, her brain talked to the baby on how to do that. See, how do you know how to make one cell from a mom and one cell from a dad make a whole person? It's the same power that knows that baby needs to turn at the right time at the right place. That's the power in you.
So you don't x-ray pregnant.
Oh, we don't x-ray pregnant women, so she had her x-rays before. Good idea. All right, so in cases of emergency, we'll x-ray. You're going to be given a plan of action. This is the best plan for correction. We have family plans too. It's like braces on your teeth, okay? So we're going to give you that plan and give you the ideal plan. And then we'll come up with solutions together for all 5 fundamentals. Does that sound like a good plan? Anybody want to walk towards the 90% chance versus the low chance? I think so. All right, you did great to sit through all this. Now, what happens is we do this. So who is motivated to get their whole family checked that hasn't had them checked yet? I mean, you've had your whole family checked. You've had your whole family checked. Okay, but there's other people, and of course, that's who you want to put on that list. All right? So these things are vital. If you understood what we're talking about, this is where we can't contain this information. That's why we do these workshops that we do. That's why the community dinner's coming up at the Little Organic Kitchen coming up. That's coming up 2 weeks?
Yes.
2 weeks on Wednesday?
Yeah.
Yep, next week's going to be your Max T3, and we're going to show you how to exercise. We're constantly having events here. Mike just put up the event that we just had on Facebook, so please go watch that video and see Dr. Chopra and the first annual Durham Food, Health, and Wellness Forum. It was an awesome event. And so the next thing, should we talk about home care kit?
Yep.
Okay, and so Chrissy's going to come in with that. So this is, we give you a plan to do your exercise at home with specific kits. So Chrissy, come on in.
Hey, Dan.
So this is the home care kit that you would get either as soon as you decide to get it yourself, or if you're going on the plan that we'll be going over with you tonight. It gives you the various tools that you may already be using here as well as some others. So you're able to help with your own care by doing exercises at home as well. We do ask, because we're going to give you a sheet that's checked off specifically based off of your own x-rays, we ask that you only do the ones that are checked off. Don't just try all of them. We did actually have somebody that did that. So that's why we make sure to put the disclaimer on it. Okay, and of course we're always here for any questions for all the exercises as well going throughout your care.
So you don't get that tonight, you get that in a few, usually the next week or the week after at the latest.
And then some family members will have different exercises, so make sure you only do the exercises that you've been given. Don't mix up the sheets because you can make your neck or low back worse. So just watch
We make
that.
sure to put the names on them
we'll
just to be
label
sure
them for
that
you guys.
everybody knows whose is whose.
All right, you guys, thank you very much for attending this part. Now you see why it's so important we get you to this part so you realize how important your spine is to your health, right? And then, of course, the other four fundamentals are vital to your health as well. But if you, like we said, if you ate well, exercised, thought well, but you didn't have nerve supply, that would be a tremendous disservice to your health. So now we're ready to walk you through your plan. Who's ready?
I have a question.
Fire.
I have two questions.
2 questions.
One of them is when you were talking earlier that you have checked some golfer,
Yes.
Glen Abbey.
Checked golfers at Glen Abbey, yep.
Did you take time to educate them prior, or you were
No.
just on the team for, again, the wrong reason?
I wish they would come and listen to the doctor's report.
Okay, so you were just checking them physically
Yeah.
without having to.
We never did x-rays on them. We never did any of this kind of plan of action for your health. There was a couple guys that were interested that I did that for, but they had to come to the office to get the whole test done.
Yeah, you could only encourage them at
Yeah.
that point to pursue it,
Yeah,
follow it up, but
yeah,
there you were just there to kind of.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish.
Yeah.
That's a great question. Number 2?
The number 2 is, I know how you say family come get checked, or even if it's an adult. Have you ever had somebody that come and everything's okay? Like you don't have to find anything because.
3 people
Oh.
in 24 years.
Wow.
I wish it was me. Yeah, that's another great question. We've very rarely, like 3 times, and Dr. Ummer's yet to meet one person yet.
Yes, I haven't met anyone yet, so.
That don't have anything.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's a great question. So now we're ready to walk you to wellness.